Hi, everybody. It's Miranda Dennis, and I am back with another video on primary emotions. Today, we are going to talk about the primary emotion of shame. So, stay tuned if you have questions about shame, you've never thought about shame being a primary emotion, or if you think shame is one of the emotions we should try to get rid of. So, like I said, I'm Miranda Dennis. I am a licensed clinical social worker in New York, Virginia, and Alabama. I am also the owner of Oasis Clinical Counseling Services, where we provide a variety of services, but our main focus is teaching people and providing people the tools and the skills that they need to live mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually well. So, like I said, today's video is all about the primary emotion of shame. If you have not watched previous videos on the primary emotions, I invite you and encourage you to make sure you subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos, but also go back, take a look at some of the other videos that I've already done on primary emotions. So, shame is often the emotion that is Well, there's a couple emotions that are kind of taboo or emotions that people want to stop or get rid of. However, I present you with the notion that shame, being that is a primary emotion, is something that is necessary. Why do I say shame is necessary? I'm not talking about the kind of shame where you are being harsh on yourself or condemning yourself or others. I'm talking about the shame that's that subtle inner voice that makes you go, ooh, I probably should not have done that. Sometimes shame and guilt run in the same category. They are different emotions, but for our purposes, we are going to put shame slash guilt together as one primary emotion. Although they are slightly different, their purpose is corrective behavior. Corrective behavior. That's why people use shame. That's why people try to guilt you into doing something because they're trying to curb or correct a behavior. There is a level of that that's appropriate. There is a level that is appropriate. Let me give you an example. If you have come out of the bathroom and you have toilet tissue stuck to the back of your skirt or your pants, you're going to have a little bit of embarrassment, which is a lower level of shame, that will cause you the next time you and somebody says something to you or you catch it later, that's going to cause you the next time you go in the bathroom to double check, triple check, scoop, scoop, sweep, sweep, look in the mirror before you go out of the restroom the next time. That is because shame, embarrassment, guilt showed up and caused you to say, let me check, let me make sure that I look presentable when I leave the restroom. Okay. So that's a small example of when it's appropriate. I would be embarrassed. So because I'm embarrassed and I don't want to appear unclean or unkept, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to make sure I'm presentable. That's appropriate. That makes sense. There are levels of guilt and shame that are not healthy that can lead to people trying to manipulate you to do something, to guilt trip you, or to exert power and control over you. So it is not a fine line in the sand of which way is good or bad. But what I will say is we all have internal checks and balances. And those checks and balances help determine, is this helpful for me or is this harmful for me? You don't need anyone else to tell you if something is harmful. If it's harmful, then it often makes you cower back, go inward. It's negative thoughts that are coming out of in your mind, negative speech coming out. That's usually condemnation. But if it's correction, then it will lead you to do better and it will be more like a burden lifted, like, oh, thank you for letting me know. I didn't know that. It will be more of a sense of relief. But shame is not a cut and dry emotion. None of our emotions really are, but they are individualized and they are unique. So, this is why I tell you, and I've told you in past videos, I tell my clients all the time, you have to sit with your emotion. You have to experience the emotion. Why do I say that? So that I know how I feel. How does my body respond? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? What are just all of my sensations? The more I'm in tune with how I experience life, the more I'm in tune with how I experience emotions, the better equipped I'm going to be at labeling my emotions and not allowing people to put things on me that are not mine to carry. Okay, because that happens. People's stuff often gets put on someone else. But when you are more in tune with what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how you experience emotions, how you experience life, then you are better able to say, that's not my stuff, and give it back to them. Or, that sounds like a boundary I need to set with this person. Or, ooh, that doesn't feel good. I should verbalize the truth. This is actually how I'm feeling, or this is actually what I need. All I'm trying to do is educate people to take ownership of the emotions that they feel, take ownership of the things that are theirs, to change, to correct, to live better lives, but also to help you know when to set limits and boundaries with others, especially those that you love, because many times when you're really connected to people that you love, it becomes really hard to know what's your emotion and what's their emotion, because you become very enmeshed and connected. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, because we are created to connect with others. But it is unhealthy when it moves you further away from your goals, your life purpose, and it moves you towards something that isn't for you, because when you become so connected and so enmeshed with, let's say, a mother or a sister or a really close friend, then sometimes you will start to incorporate their thoughts, their lifestyle into who you are. And if it doesn't line up with what you're supposed to be doing, that can become a little confusing. Now, interpersonal relationships is a totally another video. I may do something on that, since my specialty is dialectical behavioral therapy, and interpersonal effectiveness skills is usually the thing that most people come to me for. Is, someone is needing help with relationships or connectedness with others or boundaries and things like that. But that's a whole nother video. I'm just talking about shame today. I use it as an example. So let's get back on track. So, here are some other words to know shame by: embarrassment, humiliation, um, shyness, and self consciousness might be other words that you can identify shame with. All those other words are secondary emotions, meaning they are what? A combination of at least two other primary emotions. For an example, shyness. I actually I am pretty shy. My job and the things that I do and my giftings and purposes um force me to get out of being shy. But this is how I overcome shy, because my shyness is not necessarily because of shame, but it is a combination of a couple of things for me. A little bit of shame, embarrassment, as well as interest, because I'm interested in something that allows me to overcome being shy and withdrawn. Is really what I want to do, stay in the background, hide from people. And I prefer to be by myself. That is my natural go-to, because of being shy. However, I would not, um, well, let me say this about shame and guilt. Make sure to clarify this about shame or guilt. There are, like any other emotion, there are usually things that happen that prompt the emotion of shame or guilt or shyness or embarrassment. There's something that happens typically outside of you, something that takes place outside of you. So it could be someone else's behavior, somebody else's words, a situation, an event that took place that your reaction is to withdraw. So for example, rejection. Rejection is a big one. A lot of people face rejection. So, because of not wanting to be rejected, then your action urge, the thing you want to do, is to put up walls, to push people away, or to fall back. Feeling betrayed, failing at something you were trying to accomplish and you did not accomplish that can lead to shame, embarrassment, or guilt. Being reminded over and over and over and over about something that you did wrong can lead to feelings of shame or guilt. So remember early on, I talked about there is a certain level of shame and guilt that is appropriate, and there's a level that leads to that's not healthy. That's manipulation, right? So if someone's constantly reminding you over and over and over that you have done this wrong and you have done this wrong and you have done this wrong, then that would be on the unhealthy end of guilt and shame. If it's somebody you care about and you value their opinion and they're sharing this thought or reminder in love, and it's not over and over and over, it's just like, hey, remember when you did this the last time? That didn't work out so well. As an opportunity to allow you to self reflect because you know yourself well enough to self reflect and say, do I need to curb and change my behavior and do something different? Or am I willing to stand firm in whatever this thing is that I'm doing and receive the consequences of that? Hope that makes sense. Um, a couple of other things to know about shame. When you have something that happens outside of you, immediately there's something that takes place called an automatic thought. An automatic thought is your interpretation of what took place. How you interpret what took place is the lens that you see things through. So, for example, if you let's say you got up to do some public speaking and it didn't go so well, and so now you're embarrassed, you have shame, you feel humiliated, then your lens that you can see potentially interpret that to mean is I'm not a good speaker. I'm going to be rejected every time I get up to share something. That could potentially be the lens that you start seeing things through because of shame. So be very, very mindful of that. Again, if you're not a good speaker and you feel humiliation or shame, then it might cause you to do what the next time you are preparing for a speaking event? It might cause you to study more. It might cause you to prepare in advance. It might cause you to get some training, okay? As an example. But because there was something that took place, I had an automatic thought of, oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. So that can, again, there's levels to this. It will either you can choose to allow the emotion to tail spin you down, or you can choose to allow the emotion to cause you to do something different, turn, change your behavior, find the help that you need. So this is why shame is an important emotion, just like all the other emotions. But it's a sensitive emotion, and it's an emotion that could easily be manipulated. However, we need it because if we didn't have shame, we would be doing and seeing a lot of things that are not socially acceptable. Let's just say it that way. So let me get also when I talked about paying attention to how your body feels. So every emotion, every time there's an event outside of you, one, you have an automatic thought. Two, you have a biological, physiological response and reaction. Okay, that's your body cues. Your body is cueing you that, hey, I need you to pay attention to this, and this is how it's impacting you, right? Many times our body reacts before we even know what's going on or we have language to put or describe what has happened. Our body is always responding. So if you have gotten to the habit of turning off your emotions, turning off paying attention to yourself, turning off feeling and being present in your body, then you are so far behind and you need to get present. You need to be in your body. You need to be mindful of the things that you are experiencing, interpreting, feeling, and thinking. Okay. So, a couple of biological, physiological changes that happens because of the emotion of shame. It's not always the same for every person. So again, know yourself so you can know what to do. You can know how to cope. Don't allow anyone else to tell you, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. If you're because what I was about to go into a whole other spiel, but let me get back to shame. Okay. So sometimes you might feel a sense of dread, like, I don't really want to do this. Sometimes there might be like that pit in your stomach, like a heaviness. Sometimes you might have this, like, I just want to be small. I just want to like go inward, not be seen, turn away, hide in the back, cover your face, cover your body. Your head might be down because you're trying to be as small and as little as possible. And you may not even notice it happening. It could just be very subtle. Like, so here I am sitting like up, I'm confident. And then all of a sudden, I see somebody that reminded me in the past of something that I did wrong. And my automatic thought is, oh my gosh, here we go again. And I'm sensing dread. And ever so slightly, I'm kind of leaning back and I'm going inward. Okay. Sometimes that happens, but if you're not present, if you're not aware of how your body feels when it's relaxed versus really tense, you're going to miss this. Okay. So, I've already said this before. I'm just going to say it again. Some actions, some reactions because of experiencing shame. You want to hide, you're trying to appease everybody else, you're looking down, you're looking away, you're sinking backwards, you're avoiding the person, you might be bowing your head, you might be pleading, groveling, you're trying to hide your true self, okay? Those are actions or expressions of shame. Again, there is a spectrum, okay? There's one that's not so good at all, and there's the other where we need some level of shame. Because if I didn't have any level of shame, then I'd just be walking around just just looking unkept because, well, who cares? But because I want to be presentable, I clothe myself and I cover up because I don't want to be seen as an unprofessional person. Okay. That's a small example. That's on a healthy end. But if I'm constantly changing who I am to appease people and not appease God, number one, okay, let's talk about that. Then you're already going in the wrong direction. Okay. Because his opinion is really the only opinion that matters. And some of the things that happen if you go to the far end of shame or you allow other people to manipulate or put things on you or guilt you, then some of the effects of that can be really super harmful. And this is why people often don't want to experience shame or say that shame is a bad emotion. Again, y'all should know by now, no emotion is bad. I don't want you getting rid of any emotion unless it's not a factual emotion. Okay? Emotion, well, let me say it this way. Our emotions are not facts, but they do bring information. So if the information, the emotion of shame is bringing you is not real, true, valid, and it does not fit the facts, then you can ignore that. You can throw that in the trash. You can deny that. But in the example that I used earlier about coming out of the bathroom with toilet tissue hanging out of the back of your pants or your skirt, that level of shame or embarrassment corrects behavior in a good way. Okay. But if it goes to the other extreme and you're constantly beating yourself up because of that and it's not corrective or somebody's using it to harm, then there will be some negative impacts because of that, right? You might have numbness, you might have total avoidance, blaming people, attacking others, um, shutting down. You might be super focused, right? Super self conscious. Oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you're overextending yourself, over checking, and it becomes obsessive and ruminative, really. Um, if it gets really bad, a lot of times shame can impair your ability to solve problems because you're so hyper focused on not doing something wrong. This is where perfectionism often shows up as well. So, again, every emotion you experience is just that, an emotion. It's not facts. Your job is to feel, experience, acknowledge the emotion. Determine what the information the emotion is bringing you. Is it real? Is it true? Does it fit the facts? And what am I going to do with this? So you are doing a couple of different things. You are sitting in your emotions, so you are acknowledging your emotions, but you bring on your cognitive reasoning, rational brain when you check the facts of the emotions so you can then make an informed decision and choice of what to do. So, hopefully, that is helpful to you all. If you have questions, certainly feel free, leave them in the comments. I will circle back around. If you have not seen the other videos on primary emotions, I invite you to check those out and make sure you stay tuned to the next one. Take care till the next video.